Hi, meteorologist Tony Petrarca in the Pinpoint 12 Forecast Center. You've clicked on the Weather Now link. On a stormy Tuesday afternoon, things are starting to ramp up as far as rain and wind. Coastal storm on the way, severe weather alert. Things really start to go downhill as far as the worst of the rain and wind, actually this evening, tonight through early Wednesday morning. So here's the setup. Still under the flood watch. Now through Wednesday evening, and statewide, generally a 2 to 4 inch rainfall stretched over that roughly 24 to 30 hour period. There'll be some localized street flooding, some urban flooding, those normally flood prone areas, low-lying areas that normally don't do too well during heavy rain, especially in situations like this during the autumn season when sometimes these storm drains get clogged up with leaves. It just kind of slows the draining of any water. The wind still probably one of the bigger factors with this coastal storm. The advisory and warnings haven't really changed. Wind advisory for the areas in light brown, Kent, Providence County, areas, essentially north and west of Warwick. And then the areas in red is the high wind warning. And quite simply, the red areas have the potential for the stronger wind gusts, anywhere from 40 to 60 plus miles per hour, especially along the coastline. Now, it's windy everywhere. But the strongest winds would be south and east of Providence, and naturally with a coastal storm, the stronger wind being near the coast. And we'll show you some of those wind speeds in just a second. Take a look at Narragansett Town Beach, and this is pretty impressive, and the worst of the wind yet to arrive. But we were looking at this building surf, poor visibility. I mean, it's been gusting up to about 30, 40 miles per hour so far, and we're not really at the height of the storm yet in terms of wind. That'll occur tonight, and especially during the overnight hours. So the timeline on things are widespread rain. It's already worked into the area, getting heavier tonight. As mentioned, potential is there for 2 to 4 inches of rain. Strong wind gusts everywhere, whether it's Foster, Gloucester, or Newport. But the strongest of the winds, the magnitude, would be along the south shore, the lower part of the bay, southeast Mass, the Cape, and the islands. And the timeline, as far as the strongest winds, from roughly about 8 o'clock this evening until about noon on Wednesday. Now, it's still windy beyond noontime, but the wind speeds will gradually diminish. And certainly poor travel, that should say no, not, I should say now, not no. Typo there. Now through Thursday, actually Wednesday morning, poor travel, some reduced visibility, some street flooding. So as far as potential impacts here, the strong wind gusts are high, the slow travel. Power outage risk is moderate to borderline high, depending on your location. It's certainly a high risk as you get closer to the coastline, and a moderate risk in northwestern suburbs, and that localized street flooding is anticipated. So threat tracker is high, both tonight through Wednesday morning. We'll bring it back down to yellow by Wednesday afternoon. Still windy with lingering precipitation, though the wind gust magnitude should gradually diminish the second half of the day on Wednesday. But scattered power outages statewide and region-wide, especially closer to the coastline. The wind direction on these gusts will be northeast, generally 45 to 65 mile an hour gusts, but some local 70 mile per hour gusts possible. South shore, the islands, and just offshore. And we'll show you that in just a second. Satellite and radar composite showing areas of rain that are moving in right now. It really started late last night, the precipitation. So we're looking at two storm systems, these two red L's. The primary one is the one you see south and east of Cape Cod. And this is the one that's intensifying rapidly. The old storm system that came out of the Great Lakes more or less is just kind of transferring energy to the one offshore. This is the one that'll actually sort of back up and move in reverse and loop just underneath us overnight and into early tomorrow morning. We can see that on the forecast, and we'll put this into motion. And notice that red L, rather than racing out to sea north and east, it just kind of does a loop underneath us. So it's a prolonged period of some strong wind and some heavy rain now through Wednesday morning. Storm gradually pulls south and east of the area. By later tomorrow afternoon and into tomorrow night, things will be on the improve by Wednesday evening. All right, let's put some numbers down as far as potential wind gusts. The far northwest corner of the state, northeast Connecticut, 40 to 50. That Route 95 corridor, this includes Providence, Metro, Warwick, and that 50 to 55. But would not surprise me for Warwick and Providence to come, close to gusts to 60. You get into Washington County in the southern part of the state, 55 to 60 mile an hour gusts with some isolated 65 to 70 mile an hour gusts. Westerly, Newport, Charlestown, Narragansett, lower part of the bay, Horseneck, Little Compton, New Bedford, Buzzards Bay, Elizabeth Islands, Cape and Islands, and Block Island. So naturally, while power outages are possible everywhere, it's the areas shaded in orange, red, and especially pink that have a higher risk of some scattered outages. So for tonight, weather really going downhill with increasing rain and wind as temperatures hold in the middle 50s. And for your Wednesday morning, it is stormy with outages likely. Looking at temperatures in the lower 50s. Parents would not surprise me, and this is something that you'll have to keep an eye on when waking up early in the morning, if whether or not we have any school delays or cancellations. You know, some neighborhoods may be worse than others as far as any down limbs or some wires, and the wind will still be howling early in the morning at bus stop time. So that's something that we'll have to keep an eye on. During the afternoon, it's still kind of stormy, though the magnitude of the wind gusts will gradually ease, but still windy during the afternoon, but slowly easing. Steady rain should transition into more of a drizzle by mid to late afternoon, and it's raw too. We're looking at temperatures in the afternoon only in the upper 40s to around 50. Bay forecast, no surprise here, storm warning with northeast winds 25 to 30 knots, sustained gusts to 50 knots. Now your waves are choppy in the bay at 2 to 4, but the mouth of the bay and the bay entrance 4 to 8 feet, and the visibility is poor. So we do have team coverage on this nor'easter approaching the area, starting on 12 News at 4 o'clock, and certainly keep you updated on our website at WPRI.com.